In this video, Solana traders are disclosing their top picks for Solana NFTs in the month of March 2022. As usual, if you enjoy this content, make sure that you hit the like button and smash the subscribe button. Really helps us out with daily content. And as always, nothing in this video is financial advice. We're definitely not financial advisors. The guy on the right definitely is not. And as usual, do your own research. Just giving you a hard time, Cody. Happy to have you on the channel, man. I'm with two of the Solana senseis here, some of the biggest badasses in the Solana ecosystem. Really excited to talk about, what's going on in the Solana world. How you gentlemen doing this morning?
Dude, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. One of the first, people that introduced me to the NFT ecosystem was you guys. So, I finally get a chance to come on. It's a crazy world and I'm happy to be here.
Hell yeah, man. I was just complimenting you on your Solana Lights backdrop, but
Yeah.
I don't want to bore the audience with that, though. I want to start talking about top picks. Cody, you said that Chikara Chimps is one of your top picks. What's the story here?
So Chikara Chimps right now it has the first collection, 888 collection size, so small size, and they're about to be dropping their Gen 2 collection. And they're gonna have the typical staking with the token. It's called the UA token. But the cool thing that they're doing that I really want to highlight is they're doing this thing called Fusion Chimps. So right now the collection size for collection one is already pretty small with 888. But what they're doing is people that have 3 chimps can fuse them and then request what their custom one of one looks like when they make the fusion chimp. So they're going to have a custom one of one, whatever they want it to be, and it's going to deflate the supply of collections one. So I think that's super cool. And they also, they're adding in some alpha calls. They're giving away whitelist spots. They're kind of doing it all. So I'm a big fan of what, Chikara Chimps is doing right now.
And so is that the typical Solana NFT structure? Is that's the kind of playbook? Are they doing anything beyond the normal playbook?
I would say that the one thing that they're trying to introduce right now, they're doing like a DAO versus DAO platform where with their tokens, they're trying to make people spend their tokens by entering tournaments where it's, say Easy Eats DAO versus Cody's DAO. And it could mean anything. It could be a poker tournament. It could be playing Valorant, which is what they're doing for the very first tournament. And it's trying to like gamify community versus community. So that's one other thing that they're doing is trying to build a tournament platform.
That's pretty cool. Easy.
Yeah.
Have you looked at this?
Yeah, so I actually traded Chikara Chimps right off the bat. I like the supply. This was right around when Champions dropped too. So there was like a lot of FOMO on the small supply, whitelist only, because this was whitelist only. Their tokens for whitelist were going for like 6, 7 SOL. This pumped out of the gates up towards 8. I think it almost broke 10 at one point before pulling back pretty hard to 3. I do really like the deflationary mechanism, the burn 3 to get a 1 of 1. And you can kind of design it. So that's a really interesting take. My only concern with that though is like it's going to cause deflationary aspects and really shrink the holder count.
Right.
But at the same time, that's where then things like alpha calls and those other kind of core components of a project come to life. So I'm really excited to see how they actually roll that out. Fusing in some of those other components has been a little bit tough on Sol, but the team stuck around, which to be honest with you, that surprised me. So I'm pleasantly surprised with them continuing to build here. I thought they were just going to ride Champions hype.
Is it a Docs team?
No.
Oh man, good God! Especially like right now, it is just very hard for me. I'm coming from like the sort of broader NFT perspective where I'm just like right now is a tough time, for me to kind of get behind Undocs teams. But I understand that Solana is a totally different ecosystem, totally different environment than what I'm used to participating in on Ethereum. So I think you guys, I don't know if it was both of you or just one of you, had said something that was interesting where I was talking about how right now on Ethereum, it's like if you're able to mint something, like basically if you have the whitelist privilege or you're able to get in on like a stealth drop and the gas isn't too bad, it makes sense to mint a project, but buying on the secondary is really risky because we're seeing, people mint and then flip immediately. And you see that like kind of propped up floor for a hyped up project slowly drop. Someone said it was the opposite. It's all about secondary on Solana right now. Could you guys kind of shed some light on that?
Yeah, it's like almost entirely at the moment. A lot of people are buying these like existing projects. We've talked about it a few times. Like the existing projects that have built over the last 5, 6 months are the ones that are finally seeing upkicks. Solana Money Boys flew out the gates from like 6, 8 all the way up to like 15. D Gods up to 30. Desolates from 2 to 5. Like these projects that have been existing for a little bit now are finally getting that recognition. Whereas projects who are net new, a lot of people are staying back. Like they're a little bit hesitant, you know? That's kind of the tough part. It's interesting because a lot of people have like mint fatigue. You're getting a ton of these garbage mints. Like just plain and simple, like just 3K, 5K staking day one with a $50,000 LP, and it's like sick. Another one of these things. And then you have a project like 888 Anon who's doing like encrypted transactions on the Soul Network, which is crazy because like that in itself is a totally brand new ball game when it comes to like cryptocurrencies. So you have like very polar opposites, but it seems like taking bets on projects that have existed already are the ones that are really kind of giving value.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you said, Pio. Like at the broader NFT ecosystem, it's hard to get behind these kind of unknown teams. I think we're seeing that like definitely zoomed in when it comes to new projects that haven't even shown us anything. So it's a little bit different. A new team that had like is on docks as opposed to a team that keeps building. Yeah, they're on docks, which sucks, but at least they've stuck around. They've shown that they're capable of providing value. They're still sticking around. They're still adding value to your NFTs. So I think the last 2, 3 weeks has been the least amount of mints I've been involved with since I've been in the Solana ecosystem. Like I'm pretty much exclusively focused on stacking Sol, and I'm trying to buy into positions that I really like. That's really what I'm focused on right now.
Yeah, I mean, stacking Soul, I'd imagine, is a really good thing because that's way broader than just NFTs. My thing is like when a team is undoxed, I just feel like inevitably the music's going to stop. And I know that a lot of the people that participate on Solana are just trading short term. So as long as you're savvy enough to get in at the beginning and then take advantage before the music stops, then you're good to go. But for the general health of the market, I'd like to see some stuff that's like better for long term. I mean, I've talked about it with Easy. Like my unsophisticated understanding of Solana NFTs are that the best projects are Boryaku Dragons, Shadowy Supercoders, Solana Monkey Business, maybe the Flag Monkeys. Is there another name that you throw in where it's like an actual really good thing?
Yeah.
Tayo Robotics. That's the
Tayo
number one
Robotics?
project right now.
I think that's my
Hands
number one
down.
too.
Like no hesitation. This project is flipping the dragons. We
In
talked
Tom
to
we
like Flag
trust.
Monkeys is in Tom we trust. This
Who's
guy's got
Tom?
a 50+ person team. His name's Soulport Tom. So Soulport is a marketplace he's releasing, similar to like Looks Rare. They're going to be incentivizing uh, rewards for buying and selling on the platform. But this project actually traded two Solana floor because the original team was like, we don't have the dev resources to actually build out our roadmap. It's not going to happen. We apologize. This is just the state of the situation. Tom came along, was like, here's the deal. I'm gonna give you guys like 50 grand and take the project. So I'm buying you out, letting you keep everything you got, but we're changing the royalties. I assume he had a pretty big bag of these to do that. But then he just took the project over. I watched them trade all the way up to 10, trade all the way up to 50, trade all the way up to 100. Now sitting where they are. His background's interesting too. Like he comes from the porn industry, so a lot of people call him Soul Porn Tom. So it's like
nice.
that's a lot of people
fits
like
right in on Solana. Perfect.
that's a funny thing. Like people love that. Like it's like this kind of like sketchy, not even sketchy, just like separate alternative kind of alt culture that people just love. And it fits in well. Like people love the robots, but his team is so good. He manages it like a true project manager, breaks things into compartments, rolls stuff out every day. They wanted a game and he had a preview mock-up with the figures, the NFTs as the actual characters in like 72 hours. So like his team is legit. And that's the first time I've really felt comfortable saying that. Completely doxed too. He's wicked open about it. He's running and operating in the red right now because he wants to take over primary market share from Magic Eden for marketplaces. So I'm just really bullish on the guy himself, which helps that he now has a project he can support.
Well, it sounds like he's plugged in exactly where he should, which is Solana. If you presented an Ethereum project like that, with a guy that has that background, you'd basically I mean, the person would be at risk of being canceled. Like I could see it right now, you know, people that go on Twitter and kind of like you saw it with Ty Lopez recently, right? And it actually on Ethereum, it kind of turned into like free marketing and promotion for Ty Lopez, although I guess the performance of the drop didn't do that well given how exorbitantly expensive it was and where we currently are at in the market. But I could just see someone like that comes from a porn background, which, you know, to each their own. It's not like he's murdering people, right? But
No.
But I could see that basically being rejected by Ethereum. But with Solana, I don't get the vibe that there's a gnarly like cancel culture on Solana unless you're just a rug puller. And if he's coming in fully doxxed, he's like, yeah, I got an alternative background, but we're building this thing. Easy. Did we ever talk about this project on our show?
Really, really briefly, we've only kind of highlighted it a couple times. I've been trying to get in front of Tom because I want to interview him on the show so badly.
Oh,
so like
shit.
I've been bothering him. I've been DMing him. I'm
Where
about
you
to
at,
just start
Tom?
openly tweeting. Yeah, I'm about to just start openly tweeting at the guy, just to get him on. That's the last step I'm gonna take is just every morning, hey Tom, when are you coming on the show? Because I think the guy is really good at what he does. He's run businesses. Even in the Discord, like if you're in that Discord, he's always talking about other revenue streams, like buying rental homes and how he does it with cash and lowball offers and stuff like that. And it's like you have a very business savvy mindset.
Yeah.
Which I said on the video we released, like I'm looking for products that launch projects, not projects that launch products. So like with him, he has an extensive portfolio of companies, businesses, and team members that he's now dedicated to this project. So for me, it's like this is a situation where you have a business savvy guy that even at 200 here, I still feel like this is undervalued, which sounds crazy to say in the market conditions. But the guy's literally brought this back from 2 Sol. It's done a 200 or 100x. Like it's not every day you can say that in a 2-month span on a D rug, you know?
Right.
That's crazy. Do you know why he chose to do this versus make his own thing from scratch? Just because it's like it's easier and he knows he's gonna crush it, or?
That's such a good question too, and I'm curious to hear what Cody has to say on that too. But I think it really was like he was part of this community, and their community's been strong. Even when they rugged, a lot of people were like, "I'm not going anywhere. Like we're gonna figure this out. We'll get team members. We'll do something." And then Tom came along, so I think people just backed it. I think he just had a bag and was like, "I'm not letting this go to zero."
I think that is the main thing. Honestly, I would assume that that's what happened. Is he had a bag of these, and he probably was really ingrained in the community where it's like, you know, people were all like, "What's going to happen? What should we do now?" And he wanted to be that guy. Hey, I got us. Let me take care of this. And now the funny thing is, and I know Easy can attest to this, if any project rugs, the first thing you see on Twitter is people hitting up Tom. Hey, Tom, can you derug our project? Like every single time. They hit him up.
He
Tom,
sends
please
announcements
be our
too.
savior.
It's so funny. He's like, guys, I'm not derugging this for the 4th
Yeah.
time this week. It's not happening. Leave me alone. I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel bad for this guy.
It's amazing to me what people think is a reasonable request. You know, like people in the NFT space, like they'll DM me and they'll basically be like, "Which of these 3 projects should I buy?" I'm like, dude, you think like it's part of my day to just go like, "All right, random person in my DMs, let me give you direct financial advice real quick." Okay, well that's really interesting. So Easy, I'm assuming you missed this one. You didn't get in.
I have 2 of them and
Oh,
two
shit.
2 incubators right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I bought the incubators late. I have not bred one of the robots. I am still holding one that I got in at like 70 floors, I think 73. The other one I ended up getting in much later at like 140. So I mean, I unloaded a lot onto this play, just because I kicked myself for not buying in the countless months. I'm like, dude, Tom is crushing this. But yeah,
Scrap.
so I do have exposure to it.
What is scrap at right now, Easy?
What'd you say?
What is scrap at right now?
I think it's just over $6 right now. So like on that too, I'm making like 45 bucks a day per robot off of their token. Incubators are not yielding yet until they hatch. So it's just interesting because I mean, every day there's a new announcement that just gets me more hyped. And for once, it doesn't feel like it's under promise, over deliver. It feels like with these announcements, he's still under promising and the announcements are crazy.
Very cool. So we'll move on to another project. Before we do that, for all the wonderful people spamming in the chat, I'm just going to start blocking all of you. So have fun getting blocked. So you said Heaven is the next project?
Heavenland is the one I'm really interested in. And I'm going to do a more kind of detailed video on this as well around kind of why. But like the market moves in cycles. We see that it's clear as day. Like we've seen the bot meta, we've seen tool utility meta where those projects moon over like 20 floor. In my opinion, we're sitting on like DeFi meta right now in Solana. So you have like the bees, you have DeFi pirates, you have Hawksite that just dropped, all getting a lot of this attention and a lot of buying pressure. But for me, that means that other sectors that could still do very well are losing some of that like main focus. So I'm very bullish on metaverses still. Solana has a couple main ones in portals and suites, but this is the one that I think is like the biggest sleeper out of them. They have a full completed map, so you're actually buying a physical location on the map right now. With that though, they really incentivize like being able to make profit off of whatever you build. So I think a lot back to something, and I've talked to Kix about this. If you're familiar with Second Life, which is like the OG metaverse back when you could like create an avatar and it was like playing open world like Sims almost, where you walk around as a character and live literally a second life. People became millionaires off of the in-game assets there. So like shops, clothes, casinos in that actual world. And this just gives you a plot of land and is like, do what you want with it. We'll give you all of the assets on it. And take profit from it, incentivize it. So for me, I'm like, that's a very interesting take. Heavenland also released their IDO exposure. So it's a token to actually get access to basically like a pre-IPO buy of their token or whatever it is, pre-IDO buy. And those passes are going for 500 SOL. So people are really interested in the in-game currency, which makes me more bullish on the actual project. But when you look at that, it makes me feel like right now the land is severely underpriced, because sub 5 SOL with the people who want the token going for 50 grand, for me, that math is not adding up. So I want to take a little bit deeper look. We haven't seen as many announcements from this project, but they just released developer minutes. So they're dropping those every 2 days, showing what they're actively working on. So just getting that transparency, which overall for me, it's like a lot of projects aren't even doing that. We get an announcement once a week. This project's now just letting you dive into it and see how quickly they're building and what they're actually trying to do here. So for me, that's like a big game changer with these metaverse projects that has me really interested in this one specifically, because it seems the dev team's good. They already have ideas in mind. And circling back to that like Second Life, I'm very bullish on in-game assets and metaverses because I think that's going to be a huge run in itself.
Docs team?
So they've doxed privately, not a public dox. So they have doxed Magic Eden, but obviously it's all the same BS at this point. Like technically, if I don't know who you are outright, you're not doxed.
Easy. Do you care? Like looking at Heavenland, I know that they have obviously they have like high rises, downtown, city blocks. So they have a lot of different levels of land. Are you looking at just the cheap ones right now under 5? I think high rise are like 20 or something like that. Like
yeah, so they've
what are you
held a
looking at?
20 floor, which is wild. So I'm priced out of high rises just because like I think those could go lower if this floor drops more. But I am scaling into some more of the floor ones. If I can find one that's like close to the water, people like that obviously. Like
Yeah.
it's similar to real estate. If you can find one that on the outer edge facing the water, those tend to go for a little bit more of a premium. But overall, it's mostly just floor. Like I'm a very big floor trader. I like where there's liquidity. I like to trade into volume. So like that's where I find my success. I hate listing rares and just sitting there like this could very well never sell, you know?
Have there been a lot of like metaverse land plays on Solana? I know that there was at least one that we bought on stream, but is there a clear cut project that has taken this approach, the metaverse land approach, and done very well? Like, is there a sort of standard, a blue chip that's in the space?
Yeah, Portals is probably that blue chip for like metaverse land. They're opening up what they call their downtown, which is like the public sector of it all, where they're gonna have some other stuff. But that's probably like the number one and kind of covers most of the stuff. I would say like Suites is a gamified one because you can gamble on it. You got Universe is another one that's kind of picking up because they just released an in-game casino and their metaverse is actually live, so you can play it today. But then you have like some of the smaller ones, Solana Town. You have Enviro, which is a gallery only. It's interesting. It's very saturated at the moment. It's not as common as ETH, where it's like you have Decentraland, NFT Worlds, and Sandbox, and that's like hard stop. There's a lot of people trying to take that like first movers advantage and really become like the main metaverse in Sol.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be something, something for that. Cody, are you buying into Heavenland or what?
I have 2 of the floor ones as well. I know that this isn't my main metaverse play, but I think that, like Easy said, we're pretty much at a point where I think Portals is definitely the blue chip, but I don't think Portals is anything special. Like it's not
I
as
agree.
far in the lead as like Sandbox or Decentraland for ETH. So you kind of really want to find what one you believe in and go real. I'm going really deep into Desolates right now. That because to me that really reminds me of NFT worlds where people are buying worlds for their own individual projects. I know DGods has a couple worlds they're building on. I talked to the team; they're helping me build a world. Like, it just reminds me of NFT worlds. That's kind of the approach they're taking to it. But yeah, I like Heavenland as well.
Cody, have you played on your planet yet? Any
Yeah.
of them?
Yeah.
It's so cool. They did such a good job with this. Like, it's really an open world. And if you actually have you gotten any of the artifacts yet?
No.
So, Pio, you want to pull up Artifacts by Desolate? This is one thing that I think is really, really cool because this is like they haven't. I think the second one with the FAKTS. Yeah. So this is created by the same team, and you can actually put these on your planet. So it's like common buildings. They have like the Colosseum. They have castles, like all kinds of like crazy colored buildings that you can throw on that planet. So this team has actually just been continuing to build. I'm completely with Cody on the fact that it feels like this is going to be like the build your own metaverse that projects really want to land on because they're also kind of rolling out more to it. And what people say is like the devs on this team just don't leave their bedroom, just like sit here and write code, which like it's diaper season to PO here, but that's like kind of what I feel like because that's a good sign. Like the team wants to keep building this. Yeah, it might take a little bit to load because they're all 3D GIFs that are rotating. So it's pretty cool though because you can throw these models onto your land and then obviously add the gallery aspects. But to Cody's point, it's like basically the options are limitless. You can do whatever you want.
That's pretty cool. I mean, the difference is people need to understand why NFT Worlds popped is because Arc Dev is like an absolute,
different
savage.
Animal, different beast.
And he, has had massive success like in the Web 2 world, having companies get acquired by bigger entities like multiple times over the course of a decade. And then he just comes into the NFT world, no pun intended, with just a sophisticated understanding of how to operate, some good tokenomics, building on basically Minecraft, doing it the right way, being in contact with Microsoft while he does it. So there's a lot of good happening there. So I don't want people to think that it can be easily reproduced, but that doesn't mean that speculators won't draw that same kind of parallel and move in and take advantage. These definitely look cool. Someone posted something about Internet Game, which if people don't know, that was an Ethereum NFT that was kind of gamified, and they brought up a good point. They were like, easy, what was your experience like that? How would it look on Sol? And I'd imagine, knowing what I know about the Solana market, I figure people would really like that. There seems to be a desire to gamble.
It would go crazy.
Degens. We're degens.
Yeah, it would go crazy. Like absolutely insane. I was talking to Cody right when you had actually walked away before. It was like one of the things we were talking about. I guess someone had asked Cody to get my opinion on it too. It's like I think Internet Games was one of the best things to actually happen to an NFT. Plain and simple, like hard stop. I think it was one of the best ideas we've seen NFT wise. And yes, like it's a Ponzi. You need the royalties to keep going for next season's Internet Games to keep buying prizes. Yes, it's a reverse funnel, whatever you want to call it. Like it is what it is. But right now, season one, it was so well done. I haven't talked to so many people simultaneously about one NFT for so long ever. People were so excited for it, still are. Like the game's still going. I let Twitter pick my first round pick and got eliminated. Thanks. But it's a lot of fun, and I think it would do really, really well on Sol. The big thing though is like it comes down to how can you actually recognize that token? Because on ETH, the NFT is actually backed by a smart contract. On Solana, it's just an SPL token. So it's not as software intensive to kind of do some of the behind the scenes that's happening, like assigning a score, proactively updating if it's active or deactive based on time boundaries. It'd be a lot more manual process, but I think a project like that would go absolutely crazy. We've seen casino games and the casino meta just rip. Like even now, good, like I think DGen coin flips over 200 floor, which is crazy. Like casino games and that royalty kickback, people love. Like to Cody's point, we're degenerates. We love to gamble. It's what the Sol space is.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I also wanted to shout out one person in the audience. I accidentally blocked Duplex Kingdom, and I can't unblock them. So I wanted to give him a shout out if he's like sitting there like, what the hell happened? So my bad, man. I know you were trying to attack the scammers, not spam yourself. But when I'm clicking that mouse, man, you never know who's going to get caught up in the crossfire. You know what I mean? So, all right. So one thing I wanted to also talk about, because you see a lot of this on Solana, and Easy, I think you'd be very good to talk to about this, but I'd love to hear what Cody thinks as well, is that the whole DeFi thing really hasn't been proven yet in crypto, like even for quote unquote legit DeFi projects. And then when you kind of have a single NFT project, micro community, undocs team having DeFi components, you know, it really does turn into that musical chairs where you just want to get out, you know, before the music stops. So do you think that this continues? How long does this continue? How many of these things need to go to zero? I would love to know what you guys think about like maybe the next 3 to 6 months on that front, because it seems like it's standardized at this point and it's kind of part of every value prop pitch. But I do wonder if and when things shift away from that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first because I don't have as much to say because I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it's like what you said, it's going to kind of kick the bucket down the road, right? Where it's like it's going to come to a point where liquidity dries up, you know, and then something else has to pop up. Like they just can't keep, you know, being active. So I think it's one of those things. Luckily, I think Easy is pretty similar where there's only a few projects where I'm in long term. If I tell people I like a project, that means I might hold it for a day. You know, that's me liking a project. I'm pretty active, honestly. Like I hold a small bag of things I really like, and just Solana. I tell people like, don't get attached to your bags. It's okay to get rid of losers. Don't hold everything till it goes zero. The whole point of the game is to use these incoming projects, use the hype, get in, get out, and then use that Solana to put right back in your pockets for things that you actually like. And I don't know how it's going to affect the space as a whole, but I'm just thinking that the way I'm looking at it is all these projects that go to zero, people are going to get sick of those. And in the meantime, I'm kind of using that hype to build my portfolio in other spots. And people are going to go be more attracted to that, proven winners, you know, in 3 to 6 months. I think it's going to rotate to the best projects eventually.
Yeah, that's honestly what I agree with. I think the DeFi stuff, like I've been making fun of it a lot, but like the staking meta is gonna die, if not already dead. Like people are really passing on it. Like, sick, I can make $3 to $5 on this $100 investment a day. That's gonna last 3 days, and the project's gonna no longer have a Twitter or a Discord. So this is delightful, you know. But after that too, it's like other DeFi aspects I'm interested in are like the yield farms and things like Tulip and Frankium, which are ways that you can actually add tokens for yield on other things. So it's like existing SPL tokens like Shadow, Boku, Scrap, all those tokens from these projects that actually have like ways to burn it in utility are really the interesting thing too. So it's like for me, I'm looking at established projects with docs teams that are into DeFi. So like Hawksite is a big one. That's completely docs team, single click yield farming, one-sided and two-sided, which they're just trying to simplify DeFi. So like that's what I'm really interested in is ways that you can make this easier and make that connection through an NFT. So I think that's a really cool way to do it. DeFi land is another one that's really cool. They gamify the DeFi aspect. You have to water your seed. That increases your yield percentage. So they add like a little game to it while trying to help you understand what DeFi actually does. If I buy an NFT and throw it in a staking pool and all of a sudden get tokens, that holds zero value unless those tokens allow me to do something further, which 99% of these projects don't. DeFi Pirates and Chest Finance is another great example of that. The Honey Genesis bees that I talked about in the previous video, another great example. But all these other things that are just like, come get our token. What the hell is your token going to do? You know, like I want an existing project, which all those ones kind of mentioned have. So it's interesting. I don't think it's going to last. I think it's already dying right now. You're getting a lot of people passing on those mints, which is so good because when you buy all these projects that have staking and they go to a 20 SOL floor and somebody buys 3 of them at 20 SOL, that 60 SOL is gone. That person's taking that money out. Those royalties are gone. Those mint prices are gone, and they're not building anything. So it's like those other projects that are 10Ks, and I was like kind of iffy on the pricing. Like I honestly, I kind of shit on DeFi Pirates, and they took off because I was like, why is there a 10K dropping? 10Ks don't do well. And then they showed they had an existing platform, and the whole idea was to make DeFi easier to understand. And I was like, shit, this is really good. So it just depends on like what they're doing. But those are now the projects I'm really looking for, and the meta is kind of shifting from like buy shit every single day 100 times over and flip it right away to buy projects that have built something and now have a project to support that product.
It's almost like it came a little bit afterward compared to Ethereum, because I think that we started to see that like maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago in Ethereum. I mean, minus the Kevin derivatives. No, but yeah, I guess anything to add to that, Cody?
I was gonna ask Easy, what do you think? So we see Hawksite has like 30,000 volume already in like 12 hours. So it's sitting here at 6 and slowly climbing. What do you think about that as like a play? Going like specifically one
I like
project.
Hawkside a ton, man.
Yeah.
I minted a floor common one. I was pissed. I wanted a rare because their IDO price, they're pricing it at like like a penny two,
Right.
I think, and you get 50,000 of them for the highest tiers. That's $500 automatically. And the floor on them's like 6 soul right now for the base one, whereas the rarest is over 20. So that's like the interesting thing. I'm still really bullish on that project. Have you looked at the platform, Cody?
Not too much, no.
Dude,
Everyone
it's
was asking me
crazy.
about this project if it's still a play. So I said I'll ask
I
Easy.
think it is. Yeah, like I really think it is. Cause like if I can
Yeah.
click a single interaction and then two-sided stake my shadow for soul and yield both tokens off of that,
Yeah.
like almost like a double exposure to Solana. Because you're playing an alt soul coin and soul itself and minimal clicks. And they really do a good job outlining like here is what you're doing in the simplest context. You're not gonna screw this up. You have a chance to lose everything. But here's how you can do this. And it's like, this is cool because DeFi tends to be the most confusing thing, especially for people who like they see a JPEG and think it's a great financial investment. And then it's not, it's just a fucking JPEG. Whereas these other things, it's like they try to teach you on top of it. So it's like I think that's a really cool way to spin it. I'm still wicked bullish on Hawksite. We haven't seen 30K volume in a day one since
Right.
Sweets, Portals, Balloonsville, sadly. So it's like that's the interesting thing. I think the volume's great. I think the team being doxxed and 20 plus people is another great sign. And the platform's live. So it's like you're buying into something that they're not building, you're buying into something that's built.
Any other thoughts on what's going on in Solana right now for the audience before we wrap?
Yeah, I just want to say that like the way that I'm looking at things is like I said, I'm very, very picky with minting. I think that one problem we're having is it's not that easy to see a return on an average mint. Like there's probably maybe 1, maybe 2 mints a week that you can get a good play out of, but there's 1,000 mints that drop every week. And I just want people to be very picky. You don't have to mint everything. I try to tell people this all the time. Be picky with what you're minting. It's already a tough time in Solana. Maybe a month ago, you could kind of mint everything and probably make a profit. It's very different right now. So just be more picky. That's all I gotta say.
All right. Well, wise words from Cody on Chain. Make sure that you follow Cody. I'm sure that his audience is in this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel too. Although we don't only cover Solana, I'm just warning you. If you get triggered by Ethereum NFTs, you may not want to subscribe. But Easy's a consistent contributor on this channel, and we really appreciate the Solana based work that he does. But yeah, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks, Cody, and thanks, Easy.
You got it.